Mukham karoti vachanam pangam langate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dina Taranam Paramanandam Madhavam. We were discussing the the pastime of Varadev, and specifically we had left off at verse 19 in the chapter 17, the birth of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, and what they did after they were born. So verse 19. Chakre Hiranyakashipur Dhorbhyam Brahmavarena cha Vase Sapalal Lokam Strin Akuto Mrityurudhataha. The elder child, Hiranyakashipu, was unafraid of death from anyone within the three worlds. Because he received a benediction from Lord Brahma. He was proud and puffed up due to his benediction and was able to bring all three planetary systems under his control. So it said, Dorbhyam Brahma Varena Cha. So Cha means in addition to. And the point is made that the boon from Brahma helped him. The main reason that he was strong was because he was a devotee of the Lord. Here, Hiranyakashipu is addressed as the elder child because he was born first, and this is of course revealed later on in the pastime of Prahlad Maharaj, that Hiranyakashipu performed intense austerities for 36,000 years, and then Brahma came and gave him all the benedictions. So here it is just mentioned in summary. But because of these benedictions from Brahma, Hiranyakashipu became undefeatable. So nobody from the material world could kill him. And Prabhupada says that indirectly, Hiranyakashipu received the benediction that no one within this material world would be able to kill him. In other words, because he originally came from the abode of Vaikuntha, he was not to be killed by anyone within the material world. The Lord decided to appear himself to kill him. Okay. Verse 20. Hirnaksho anujastasya priya pritikrid anvaham Gadapanir devam yato yuyutsir mrigayan ranam. His younger brother, Hiranyaksh, was always ready to satisfy his elder brother by his activities. Hiranyaksh took a club on his shoulder and traveled all over the universe with a fighting spirit, just to satisfy Hiranyakashipu. So in 7 verses, from 20 to 26, it is described how Hiranyaksh conquers all directions. And Prabhupada says that Hiranyakashipu himself was very powerful, and he made his younger brother Hiranyaksh powerful to assist him in fighting with everyone. These are demonstrations of the spirit of the demoniac living entity. that they want to combine forces and wreak havoc. Verse 21. Tam vikshya dushahasjavam ranat kanchan nupuram vejayantya srajajustam amshanashta mahagadam. Hirnaksha's temper was difficult to control. He had anklets of gold tinkling about his feet. He was adorned with a gigantic garland, and he rested his huge mace on one of his shoulders. Verse 22. Manovirya varotsiktam ashanayam akutubhayam Gita nili yire devas takshatrashta ivahayaha. His mental and bodily strength, as well as the boon conferred upon him, made him proud. He feared death at the hands of no one, and there was no checking him. The gods, therefore, were seized with fear at his very sight, and they hid themselves, even as snakes hide themselves for fear of Garud. So Prabhupada says that the asuras are generally strongly built, as described here, and therefore their mental condition is very sound, and the prowess is also extraordinary. So Prabhupada says over here that Hirnaksh and Hiranyakashipu, having received the boon that they would not be killed by any other living entity within the universe, were almost immortal, and thus they were completely fearless. Verse 23. Savai triho hitan drishtva mahasa svena daityara snedran deva ganang shivan apashyan vyanadad prasham. On not finding Indra and the other demigods who had previously been intoxicated with power, the chief of the Daityas, seeing that they had all vanished before his might, roared loudly. So the word Kshiban, which is intoxicated with power, can be applied both to the Devas and as well as to Hirnaksha. So Prabhupada applies it to Devas to indicate that because of their uncommon position, they also tend to get intoxicated with power. And it can also be applied to Hirnaksh, that on not finding Indra and other demigods, the chief of the Daityas, intoxicated with power, roared loudly. So the roar that he did was partly of triumph and partly of frustration. And the Devas had disappeared before him because they were aware of his antecedents. They knew that he could only be killed by the Lord because Brahma had told them. They knew that he had received boons from Brahma. So they were aware that they could not be a match for him. So when they found out that he was approaching, they used their mystic powers and disappeared. Verse 24. Tato nivrata kridyashan gambhiram manishwanam vijagahe mahasattvo vardhim mata ivadvipaha. After returning from the heavenly kingdom, the mighty demon, who was like an elephant in wrath for the sake of sport, dived into the deep ocean, which was roaring terribly. So he first went to the heavenly kingdoms to look for a suitable opponent to fight. And not finding anywhere else, he was roaring in anger and triumph. And now he is going into the netherworlds, he's driving into the depth of the ocean. Tasmin praveste varunasya, sorry, different meter. Tasmin praveste varunasya sainika yado ganasan diya sasadvasa ahomana apitasya varchasa pradharishta-durataram pradudrubuhu. On his entering the ocean, the aquatic animals who formed the host of Varun were stricken with fear and ran far away. Thus Hirnaksh showed his splendor without dealing a blow. The Prabhupada says that Hirnaksh, by his demoniac strength, he establishes supremacy throughout the universe without having to fight, because his reputation preceded him. So the demigods were afraid of him, but also the aquatic animals within the sea. Verse 26. Savarsha Pugana Udadau Mahabalash Charan Mahorim Ina Chavasane Ritan Moho Morvya Bijangahe Gadaya Vibhavarim Asedivam Satata Purim Prachetashaha. Moving about the ocean for many, many years, the mighty Hirnaksh smote the gigantic wind-tossed waves again and again with his iron waves and reached Vibhavari, the capital of Varun. The Prabhupada says that Varun is the predominating deity of the waters, and his capital, which is known as Vibhavari, is within the watery kingdom. Next verse. Tatropala bhayasura loka palakam yadogananan rishabham prachetasham samyam pralabdum parnipatya nichavaja jagadmedhya adhiraja samyugam. Not able to establish the meter for this. Vibhavari is the home of Varun, lord of the aquatic creatures, and guardian of the lower regions of the universe, where the demons generally reside. There Hirnaksh fell at Varun's feet like a low-born man, and to make fun of him, he said with a smile, "Give me battle, O Supreme Lord." So in 4 verses, 27 to 31, the conversation between Hirnaksh and Varun is described. So Varun is not only the lord of the water, he is also the lord of the lower regions, Asur Loka. And he is the master of the Danavas. So Danavas are descendants of Kashyap and Danu. So this reference is given in the 10th canto, chapter 28, verse 1. So Hirnakshi bowed mockingly before Varun, and in mock humility, he says that, "Give me battle, or Supreme Lord. Next verse. Tvam lokapalo dipatira brahakashrava viryapo durmado viramanenama vijitya loke khila daitaya danavan yadrajasunena yadrajasuyena purayaja prabhu. You are the guardian of an entire sphere and a ruler of wide fame, having crushed the might of the arrogant and conceited warriors, and having conquered all the Daityas and the Danavas in the world, you once performed a Rajasuya sacrifice to the Lord. So here Naksh is reminding Varun of his own greatness in a mocking way. So he's saying that you are so powerful that you once performed Rajasuya after defeating the Daityas and the Danavas. So you should definitely be ready to give battle to me. And he's also invoking the Rajasuya to say that after you conquer me, then you can actually perform the Rajasuya. Then your Rajasuya will be perfect. Because the condition of the Rajasuya Yagya is that everybody accepts the supremacy of the person who's performing the Yagya. So that's why here Nakshi is reminding Varun that you did perform the Rajasuya. Now all you have to do is to defeat me, and then you will be a worthy performer of this great Yagya. So in this way, he's goading him to fight. Verse 29. Sa evam utsikta modena vidvisha dridam pralabdo bhagavana papam patihi rosham samuttham shamyam swayadhiya vivochad ango pashamam gatavayam. Thus mocked by an enemy whose vanity knew no bounds, the worshipable Lord of the waters waxed angry. But by dint of his reason, he managed to curb the anger that had sprung up in him. And he replied, "O dear one, we have now desisted from warfare, having grown too old for combat." So it is said that there are 4 ways to deal with an enemy: Sam, Dam, Bhed, and Danda. And the recommendation is that if the enemy is much more powerful than you, then Sam is the way to go. If you are much more powerful than the enemy, then Dand is the way to go. And Dam and Bhed is when there is certain parity between the two. So Varun here recognizes the fact that Hiranyaksh is a lot more powerful than him. So even though insulted by Hiranyaksh, he feels the anger within him, but prudently he follows the path of reconciliation. And he says, he addresses him as Anga. So Anga means, oh dear one who is my favorite. So in a conciliatory way, he declines to engage in combat with him. Next verse. Ashami nanayam purushat puratana yah samyuge tvam ranmarga kovidam aradhyasya Aradhya yasyatya asura behitam manasvino yam granate bhavadrashaha. You are so skilled in war that I do not see anyone else but the most ancient person, Lord Vishnu, who can give satisfaction in battle to you. Therefore, O chief of the Asuras, approach him, whom even heroes like you mention with praise. So after Varun had declined to fight with Hirnaksh may ask that, but then how can I be relieved of my desire for battle? Wherever I go, people either disappear or, like you, they decline to fight. So Varun says that I have a solution for you. That there is one person who is worthy of fighting with you. So he glorifies Hirnaksh also. He flatters him that that there is no one else but the most ancient person who can give satisfaction. And he says that even heroes like you, acknowledging the fact that he is a great warrior. And then he also glorifies Lord Vishnu, saying that you are great, but he is greater. He is the most ancient. So he is building this desire. He does not want Hirnaksh to think that he is simply being sent to another unworthy opponent because Varun does not want to deal with him. But he's saying, I'm actually sending you to somebody who will satisfy this desire of battle and who is a worthy opponent to a great warrior like yourself. Okay, last verse of the chapter. Tam viramarada abhipadya vishmayaha shahishyase virashaye swabhirvrataha yastvad vidhanama astama prashantaye rupani dhate sad anugrahechaya. Varun continued, on reaching him, you will be rid of your pride at once and will lie down on the field of battle, surrounded by dogs, for eternal sleep. It is in order to exterminate wicked fellows like you and to show his grace to the virtuous that he assumes his various incarnations like Vara. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says that there is an implicit conversation going on that after Varun said to Hirnaksh, you go and fight with Lord Vishnu. So Hirnaksh says that, how long will I take to reach him? And then Varun says, Arat Abhipadya. In no time, you will reach him. And then Hirnaksh says that, will I be relieved of the pain that I'm suffering now of not being able to fight? So Varun says that now you're afflicted by the sickness of pride, because of which you cannot sleep. But after the battle, stripped of your pride, the Vishmaya, you will lie down to sleep, Shayase, on the battlefield, Virashase. Another way of saying it is that when you fight with him, you will be defeated. And because the battlefield is a suitable bed for the warriors, you will actually be killed in battle itself. And then Hiranyaksh says that, will it be a glorious death? And Varun says, Swabhivrata. No. In death, you will be surrounded by dogs. So dogs are considered to be lower creatures, unclean creatures. So Hiranyaksh says that, how will I recognize him? And Varun says, don't worry. You will see. For destroying wicked person like you, he assumes various forms. So this is Varun giving the parting shot to Hiranyaksh. So he glorifies him, he insults him, he invokes his valor and sends him on the way to fight with uh, Lord Vara. So a quick recap of the chapter, that the chapter began with a description of the inauspicious omens after the birth of the twins. So all those omens are described, that in disturbances in nature, disturbances in animals, disturbances amongst the planets, the devas. Then the birth and the two brothers growing up is described, followed by Hiranyaksh's conquest of all directions. He goes to the heavenly planets. Since nobody is there, it's assumed that he has conquered it. He goes down into the water. Varun refuses to fight, which means that he has conquered it. And the chapter ends with the conversation between Varun and Hiranyaksh, in which Varun inspires Hiranyaksh to seek out Lord Vishnu to battle with. Okay, so it's a logical break before we start with the 18th chapter, and I can pause here and see if there is any comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I don't know whether I missed it. I couldn't join for some reason with the Zoom first 5 minutes. But what I'm trying to ask is, did Hiranyaksha also perform tapasya like Kashipu to get the boon from Brahma, or how did he gain so much power?
So both things appeared in the chapter that Prabhupada mentions in one of the purport, that Hiranyakashipu made Hiranyaksh powerful. And he also mentions that he performs austerities. So it looks like it's a combination of both the things, that by the prowess of his brother, he became powerful, and by his own austerities. But Prabhupada does mention that ultimately it was because they were eternal associates of Lord Vishnu. They were born extremely powerful. So even the benedictions of Brahma is referred as cha and. So in addition, that it's not the main reason, they were just in addition. Primarily, they had this uncommon power because of who they were. They were close associates of the Lord and eternal residents of the spiritual world. Any other comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this Varaha that will appear is a red one.
So this, so the Varadev that fights with Hiranyaksh and Hiranyakashipu is the one that appears in the Chakshusha Manu's pastime. So the Vara that appears in the pastime of Swayambhavu Manu is Shvetvara, the white. So this is differently described as Nila blue colored, or Rakta red colored, but not the white colored.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so we'll continue with the 18th chapter. Like I mentioned, these chapters are mostly without purports, so they're mostly descriptions. So verse 18, the title is chapter 18. The title is "The Battle Between Lord Boar and the demon Hirnaksha. So this chapter will describe the conversation between Vara and Hirnaksha. So it begins with Hirnaksha criticizing Lord Vara. It begins with, and then follows with the Lord's reply to Hirnaksha. And so this is the first 12 verses. And Vishwanath Chakravarti and some other acharyas also, they also give the Saraswat Artha. Because it's impossible for a devotee to criticize the Lord, even in this stage, then they basically also talk about the hidden meanings of the so-called criticism. We see that in Shishupal also. When Shishupal was criticizing the Lord, he insulted him 100 times. And then acharyas, they look, each of the insults, they interpret it differently, which is actually a glorification of the Lord. So we see that similar dynamics over here. And then the chapter concludes with a battle between Lord Vara and Hirnaksha. Lord Vara does not kill him in this chapter; he'll kill him in the next chapter. But it's like a blow-by-blow description of the battle between two very powerful warriors. Okay, 318:1. Maitre Vacha Tadevam Akarnya Jalesha Bahisatam Mahamanas Tadviganya Durmada Harir Viditva Gatimanganarada Rasa Talam Nirvishetvanvitaha. Maitreya continued, the proud and falsely glorious Daitya paid little heed to the words of Varun. Oh dear Vidur. He learned from Narad the whereabouts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and hurriedly betook himself to the depths of the ocean. So the first 8 verses is the criticism by Hirnaksha of Lord Vara. And Prabhupada says that Hirnaksha was very much encouraged to hear from Varun that there was a fighter who could actually put up a good fight with him. So he hurriedly began to look for the combatant. And then he came across Narad Muni. And then he asked him that where can I find this Lord Vishnu? And I hear that he is good in battle. And I have been waiting to find a suitable opponent. So then Narad told him that he is in the depths of the Garbhodaka ocean. So the word that is used over here is Rasatalam. So Rasatal is one of the lower planetary systems. But the explanation here is that Rasatalam is used to indicate that it is in the lower part of the universe. Factually speaking, below Rasatal is Patal, below Patal Lok is Narak Lok, and below that is the Garbhoda ocean. But we'll see these references throughout this chapter and other verses also, that Rasatal is not generally, but often used to refer to the Garbhoda ocean, and primarily because of the fact that it is pointing towards the bottom of the universe. Another point to note here also is that even though Hirnaksha was a demon, even though he was looking to fight with the Lord, he could not get the Lord unless he got the mercy of a devotee. So he comes across Narad, and then Narad is the one who delivers him to the Lord, or delivers the Lord to him. Verse 2. Dadarsha tatra bhijitam dharadharam pranoyi yama anagvinagradam straya mushnantam akshana swarocha aruna shriya jahasa chaho vanagocha ramrigaha. He saw there the all-powerful personality of Godhead in his boar incarnation, bearing the earth upwards on the end of his tusks and robbing him of his splendor with his reddish eyes. The demon laughed, "Oh, an amphibious beast." So Hirnaksh was surprised and amused to know that Lord Vishnu is actually an amphibious beast, one gochara mraga. So in the 13th chapter of the 3rd canto, in verses 31 and 32, there is a brief description of the killing of Hirnaksh by Lord Vara. So this is the intersection of those two pastimes. So when we were discussing the pastime of Lord Vara, then in the 13th chapter, the focus was rescuing the planet Earth. And there it is mentioned in 2 verses that after he rescued the planet Earth, placed her in the proper orbit, he killed the demon. Here, that pastime is described more elaborately. Sometimes it is also said, though it is not mentioned here in the Bhagavatam, at least in these chapters, that Hirnaksh was the cause of the fall of the earth into the Garbhoda. That because he was greedy for gold, that he took so much gold out, he disturbed the balance of the planet and it fell down to the bottom of the universe. I'm not sure what the source of that is. I have heard that in Prabhupada lectures, also heard it in lectures of other sannyasis. So there is definitely validity about it, maybe some source from some Quran, maybe it appears later on in some other aspect in the Bhagavatam, but it's not mentioned so far. So the Lord is described over here as Abhijitam. So Abhijit means one who conquers all around. So Maitreya is already indicating the fact that he is going to be meeting his defeat. And the fact that his splendor, Swarucha, was diminished in the presence of the Lord indicates that very soon his valor will also be diminished. So he derides the Lord as one gochara. So one gochara means an amphibious. Gochar means one who lives, and one means water. So one gochara also means Narayana. So externally he is criticizing, saying that, oh, this is a water living beast, or this is a jungle living beast. But he's also saying, oh, this is my Lord Narayan. One gochara is one who lives on water. So Narayan also means the same thing. So Nara is the person, Narayan is who sleeps on water. So Narayan also means the same thing. And then he says Mriga. So Mriga means beast. Mriga also means that one who is only seen in an isolated place. So the sages they live in an isolated place and they meditate in the hopes of seeing the Lord. So Mrika also means one who is sought by the sages. So when he says one Gochara Mrika, he's also saying that this is my Lord Narayan, who is the object of the worship of the sages. But externally, he is criticizing. So Prabhupada says that demons cannot understand the incarnation of the Lord, and they think that his incarnation as a fish or a boar or a tortoise are big beasts only. And why? Because they misunderstand the bodily conception. They think that just like we have a material body, the Lord has a material body. And then Prabhupada mentions in the purport also that in the Chaitanya Sampradaya, there is sometimes a demoniac conception about the descent of Nityanand Prabhu. Nityanand Prabhu's body is spiritual, but demoniac persons consider the body of the Supreme Personality to be material, just like ours. Avajanati Mamura. Persons who have no intelligence deride the transcendental form of the Lord as material. So this I did a little bit of digging around, and actually most of the research was done by Gaur Sundar Prabhu, so I wanted to thank him. That this statement is actually coming from a misconception that some people in the Chaitanya Sampradaya, actually they are called Asampradayas because they are deviants. They do not accept Nityanand Prabhu as spiritual. They consider him with a material body, just like a common man. And Prabhupada speaks very strongly about them. So some references, I won't go into them, but in Madhya Leela 1542, in Madhya Leela 385, Prabhupada speaks more about it. Okay, next verse 3. Ahena mihagya mahim vimunchano rasakosham vishwa srajayam arpita na swasti yasyasya anaya mamekshata sura dhamo sadita shukar rakte. The demon addressed the Lord, O best of the demigods, dressed in the form of a boar, just hear me. This earth is entrusted to us, the inhabitants of the lower regions, and you cannot take it from my presence and not be heard by me. So this is another verse which is considered to be a hidden glorification of the Lord. Prabhupada comments in the purport that Sridhar Swami, when commenting on the verse, states that although the demon wants to deride the personality of Godhead in the form of a boar, he's actually worshipping him. So, so previously we had looked at the interpretation of one Gochara, that one who lies in water, which is referring to Lord Vishnu, then addressing him as Mriga, sought after by great sages. Here he addresses him as Agya. So Sridhar Swami says that Gya means knowledge, and Agya means that there is no knowledge which is unknown to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Agya also means one who knows everything, one who is omniscient. And Suradhama. So Sura means demigods and Adhama means the Lord of all there is. So he is glorifying Varadev as the Lord of all the demigods. He is the best of the demigods, which means he is the personality of Godhead. And when the demon uses the word that you cannot take the earth in my presence, the implied meaning is that in spite of my presence, you're completely free to take away the earth. Na swasti yasyasi. So he's saying that unless you kindly take this earth from our custody, there can be no good fortune for us. So the Saraswat earth of this verse is that Hiranyaksh is saying, "O omniscient Lord." So omniscient is Agya. O omniscient Lord, you have been given the earth by Brahma. Do not give up the earth. You will obtain our kingdom along with the earth by being merciful to me. O supreme among the Devas, who has appeared as a boar for your devotees. So Vishwan Chakravarti translates this with the hidden meanings, saying that this is essentially a prayer in which Hiranyaksh is glorifying the Lord and is begging him to take the earth so that the glory of the Lord is established, and then Hiranyaksh is also relieved of this role of being a demon. Yeah. Verse 4. Tvam naha saptanera abhavya kimbrato yo mayaya antyasuran parokshajit tvam yogamaya balamal papaurasham samsthapaya mudha pramje surukkachaha. You rascal, you have been nourished by your enemies to kill us, and you have killed some demons by remaining invisible. Oh fool, your power is only mystic, and today I shall enliven my kinsmen by killing you. So Prabhupada explains the demon used the word abhavaya, which means for killing. And Sridhar Swami comments that this actually means liberating. That you have actually kindly liberated my family members by killing them. So Prabhupada says the activities of the Lord's internal potency are inconceivable. But by a slight exhibition of his potency, the Lord by his grace can deliver one from Nishayans. So Prabhupada says that in explanation to the implicit question that why are demons being liberated? And Prabhupada says that it's inconceivable. It's his internal potency, Yogamaya. And then he says, Sucha means miseries, the miseries of the material existence can be extinguished by the Lord by his internal potency, Yogamaya. So the Saraswat arth of this is given as, have the Devas taken shelter of you, who kills Asuras by your mercy, Mayaya, in order to award liberation. By killing the demons, you give them a spiritual destination. You remain victorious, though you are invisible. Your invisibility is your greater mercy. The devas show themselves after a little sadhana. After fixing my mind on you, who have inconceivable powers, Yoga Maya Balam, and who makes Mahavishnu insignificant. He says Alpa Paurasham. Alpa Paurasham means you insignificant person, but the Acharyas say it also means Purush also refers to Mahavishnu, he who makes Mahavishnu insignificant. I will also completely destroy Pramjarit, the suffering of material existence, Sucha, of my friends, since you even liberate the friends of those who remember you. So he is now glorifying the mercy of the Lord. That not only do you liberate those you kill, but even those who are related to the person that you kill. So Hiranyaksh continues, says, "O Lord, you show satisfaction even with the fools, Mudha, by giving them your devotion." So in these three verses, 2, 3, 4, and in the document that I sent you, there's a table which talks about this apparent meaning and hidden meaning of the different phrases. It catches the main points, but it's not comprehensive, because Vishwanath Chakravarti, he actually he does not translate it word to word, but what he does is that by interpreting the word, he builds an alternate storyline. So it's not exactly that this word could be interpreted as this and therefore it means that. He does that, but he builds an alternate storyline to give the Saraswata. Okay, verse 5. Tvaistam tite gadaya shirna shirshanya asmad bhuja chayotaye chatubhyam balim haran rishayo yecha devaha swayam sarve na bhavishantya amulaha. The demon continued, when you fall dead with your skull smashed by the mace hurled by my arms, the demigods and sages who offer you oblations and sacrifices in devotional service will also automatically cease to exist, like trees without roots. So according to Sridhar Swami, this verse means that when the demon would be deprived of his mace by Bharadev, not only the neophyte devotees, but also the perfected devotees of the Lord will be very much satisfied. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says the Saraswat Artha is that when your skull is not cracked by the club released by me, the recent devotees who offer you homage at this time, as well as the ancient devas, devotees and sages, will spontaneously no longer be unsteady, or will spontaneously become amula, will become free of any mula, any contaminations. Verse 6. Satuddima nori druktatamare dam stragagam upalakshabhitam todam rishan nirgadam bumadya grahahata sakare nuryate baha. Although the Lord was pained by the shaft-like abusive words of the demon, he bore the pain. But seeing that the earth was on the end of his tusks, was frightened, he rose out of the water just as an elephant emerges with his female companion when assailed by an alligator. So Srila Prabhupada comments on the fact that the Lord felt pained. And he says that the impersonalists, they cannot understand that the Lord has feelings, that he is satisfied when somebody offers him a nice prayer. And similarly, he is dissatisfied when somebody blasphemes him. And Prabhupada says that he's most dissatisfied by the Mayavadis, who are also demons. Because they, just like Hiranyaksh is trying to do, they also try to kill the Lord. They say that he has no head, no form, no existence, no legs, no bodily limbs. So they're trying to say that he's dead or he's lame. And all these are a source of pain to the Lord, dissatisfaction to the Lord. So back to the pastime that that even though the Lord was pained, but his first attention is towards his devotees. So he had promised Brahma and the Devas to rescue the earth. He could see Bhudevi, who is his devotee, fearful. So his first preference was, let me reassure my devotees. So it's not that he dropped everything and started fighting with Hiranyaksh, but he first noticed that he has to take care of Mother Earth. Vishwanath Chakravarti gives the Saraswat Arth of this verse. The Lord was pained by compassion, seeing the pain in Brahma and others who heard those words. He was victorious by the happiness gained through the praise uttered by the enemy. He was like an elephant emerging from the water, uninjured by the crocodile. Tam niha sarantam salidad anudruto hiranyakesho dviradam yatha jashaha karaladam stro asani nishvano abravit gata hiryam kim tva asatam vigartam. The demon who had golden hair on his head and fearful tusks gave chase to the Lord while he was rising from the water, even as an alligator would chase an elephant. Roaring like thunder, he said, "Are you not ashamed of running away before a challenging adversary? There is nothing reproachable for shameless creatures." So Hiranyaksh was upset that despite all the insults that he was hurling at the Lord's focus was in rescuing the earth. So he was so far attacking the Lord by words, now he is physically chasing the Lord, saying, "Are you not ashamed that I am here challenging you, and you're a shameless creature, that you're not taking up my challenge and running away? So the Saraswata for this verse is, can there be criticism of those who are merciful and modest? Those who be merciful flee for the purpose of protecting the earth, who has taken shelter of your tasks. Do not be criticized. Glorification of the Lord. Another meaning of this verse is Hiranyaksh lamenting about his own role. So he says that, is there censure for me, a demon, dedicated to my own pleasure, devoid of shame? No, there is not. How unfortunate I am. So he's criticizing at least his role as a demon. Verse 8. So we'll do a couple of verses, and well, we'll do one more verse and then we'll see if there's any discussion. So natural break. Sagamudastad salilasya gochare vinayasya tashyam adadat swasatvam abhishuta vishwa sraja parushne apurimano vibhuda poshato rahe. The Lord placed the earth within his sight on the surface of the water and transferred to her his own energy in the form of the ability to float on the water. While the enemy stood looking on, Brahma, the creator of the universe, extolled the Lord, and the other demigods rained flowers on him. So Prabhupada says that is the version of Bhagavad Gita which confirms by the Lord's statement that behind the material laws or nature's law, and behind the growth, maintenance, production, and evolution of all the planetary system, behind everything is the Lord's direction. So Prabhupada is referring to Bhagavad Gita chapter 9 verse 10, famous verse, Maya Dakshena Prakriti Sweta Socharacha Hetuna Nena Kwanteya Jagat Viprivardhate. That everything in this material world is working under my directions. So the Lord's activities could be approved only by the demigods, headed by Brahma, and therefore when they saw the uncommon prowess of the Lord in keeping the earth on the surface of water, they showered flowers upon him in appreciation of his transcendental activity. The Prabhupada makes this interesting point that the powers of the Lord are there for everybody to see, but only the devotees can appreciate them. The fact that the sun is rising every day morning, the fact that the earth stays within its orbit, the fact that the seasons come, the fact that there's so many laws and rules, law of gravity and law of motion, and if any one of them is violated by even a little bit, everything will get destroyed. So everybody sees this, but when the devotees see them, they see the Lord's hand behind them. And they see the law, they see the lawmaker. So Prabhupada says that only they are able to appreciate. Okay, so let me pause here, see if there is any discussion. Okay, we can continue. Pranasutam tapanyavokalpam mahagadam kanchan chitradamsam marmanyakhilshanam pratudantam duruktahe prachandamanyu prahasam stambhavase. The demon, who had a wealth of ornaments, bangles, and beautiful golden armor on his body, chased the Lord from behind with a great mace. The Lord tolerated his piercing ill words, but in order to reply to him, he expressed his terrible anger. So 4 verses, 9, 10, 11, and 12 is the Lord's reply to Hirnaksha. So Prabhupada mentioned again that Krishna was competent to immediately chastise the demon, but he tolerated him for the sake of his devotees. So Prabhupada glorifies this quality of the Lord, that for the benefit of his devotees, he is willing to be personally humiliated. He did not want to put Lord Brahma and the Devas in anxiety by immediately beginning battle with Hirnaksha. He wanted to make sure that they are pacified. So the Lord responds to the demon with prachandamanyu, terrible anger, and prahasan, laughing. So the anger was from hearing his abusive words, but actually it was for putting his devotees in anxiety. Because the Lord is above all this. How can you insult the Lord when he is beyond all material conceptions? But he is very favorable to his devotees. So Hirnaksha had done so much to put his devotees in anxiety, so that's why Prachandamanyu. And then what about Prahasan? So the acharyas say that the laughing was to acknowledge the glorification of his devotee that was cleverly hidden in this so-called insult. So the response of the Lord was simultaneously acknowledging the external and the internal meanings of the words of Hirnaksha. So the word para anusaktam means that he was following him closely. Hirnaksha was following him closely. Para anusaktam also means one who is a pure devotee of the Lord. The nature of a pure devotee is that he follows the Lord wherever. He is intimately associated with the Lord. So the prahasan is acknowledging the para anushaktam, that my devotee is so clever that because of this he is forced to insult me, but within this insult he is glorified. Verse 10. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Satyam Vayambo Vanagochar Mriga Yushma Vedan Mrigaye Grama Simha Namrityupashahi Pratimuktasya Vira Vikathanam Tava Grahanti Abhadra. The personality of God had said, indeed, we are creatures of the jungle, and we are searching after hunting dogs like you. One who is freed from the entanglement of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you are indulging. For you are bound up by the laws of death. So Prabhupada says that this is also the Lord speaking to the atheists, that they are subject to the laws of birth and death, while the Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternal. So somebody I was seeing this it's a little cruel, but it's a funny picture somebody had made. Was 1998, Stephen Hawking says there is no God. 2018, God says there is no Stephen Hawking. So 2018 was, I think, the time Stephen Hawking died. So he came, he denied the presence of God, and he died. But God is always there. So Prabhupada said that in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that simply by understanding the transcendental nature of God, one can go back home, back to Godhead. So this is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 9. Janma karma chine divyam, yome vedi tattva. But demons and atheistic persons do not try to understand the nature of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they remain in the entanglement of birth and death. So Sridhar Swami and Vishwanath Chakravarti say, well, Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes Sridhar Swami, that just like when Hiranyaksh was hurling insults at the Lord, but actually glorifying, the Lord actually is replying in kind. That while he is hurling insults at Hiranyaksh, but he cannot help himself but glorify his devotees. So the Saraswat Arth of this verse is that I am one Gochar because I am seen by the devotees who have given up material enjoyment. But mercifully, I search out those who are most prominently attached to material enjoyment to offer them a place with me. So Hiranyaksh might ask that why do you give mercy to proud and sinful people? And the Lord says that because I am generous and I do not see the faults in their boasting words. The Hiranyaksh might ask that what is your position? One who receives my mercy is not subject to death. And then he glorifies Hiranyaksh. He says, O person from whom no inauspiciousness arises, such a person becomes completely freed from the ropes of death. So the verse is accepting the glorification of Hiranyaksha. So when he called him one Gochar, he was saying you're a boar or you're aquatic. But he was actually meaning that you are sought by the sages, and the Lord acknowledged. He said, yes, I am one Gochar, because I am seen only by devotees who have gone to the forest, who have given up all material enjoyment. Okay. Next verse, 11. Ete vayam nyasa harara saukasham gata hriyo gadaya dravitaste tisthamahe tathapi kathanchitajav steyam kvayamo balinat padvairam. Certainly, we have stolen the charge of the inhabitants of Rasatal and have lost all shame. Although bitten by your powerful mace, I shall stay here in the water for some time. Because having created enmity with a powerful enemy, I now have no place to go. So the Lord is speaking in a joking and a derisive manner. He's insulting him by jokes. He's saying that, yes, I have stolen the earth which is entrusted to you and I have run away. But you are such a powerful enemy. So where can I run away from one who is as powerful as you? So best thing for me is to stay here in the water for some time. The Saraswat Arth is, I am the receiver of the offerings, Niyasara, made with devotion, even if they are from demons. Rasa Akasham. I am not ashamed of doing this, Gatariya, because I am affectionate to all my devotees. And the Lord says that because you have melted, Dravita, my heart with words of praise, Gadaya. Thus I will remain, Tisthame, with you in this battle to show you my extraordinary powers. So Hiranyaksh might say, please go to Vaikuntha. You will remain there happy. Why do you want to end your suffering by fighting? And the Lord says, Steham, I must remain engaged in battle with you in order to derive bliss from fighting because of the enmity in you caused by the curse of the Kumars. Where else should I go? Okay. So we'll do a couple of more verses and then we'll pause after that. Tvam padrathanam kila yuthapadipo katsavano asvastva svanuha samsthapya chasman pramacharashu swakanam yadsva pratijanam nati pipartya sabhyaha. You are supposed to be the commander of many foot soldiers. And now you may take prompt steps to overthrow us. Give up all your foolish talks and wipe out the cares of your kith and kin by slaying us. One may be proud, yet he does not deserve a seat in an assembly if he fails to fulfill his promised word. So we see the same mood that Hiranyaksh had towards Varun, the Lord has towards Hiranyaksh. The Lord is saying that what is the point in all this foolish talk? Talking is not for warriors. And he says, actually, you are a great warrior. You have a great army. And why are you wasting your time in talking? And you initially mentioned that I have killed many of your relatives. And many of them are living in fear of me. So for that reason also, you should wipe out the cares of your kith and kin by slaying us. The Saraswat Arth for this is, filled with prema, you have accepted the mood of a demon as a promise to give me happiness by fighting with me. He who does not keep that promise is unfit to sit in the assembly. So the Lord here is encouraging Hiranyaksh to continue with this adverse mood because he's detecting the devotion in him. So he's saying that you have initially did this promise that you will give me happiness to fight with me. So don't forget that promise. He says, act now to make me happy by fighting in order to give up your life. After having fixed me in your heart. Okay, next verse, 13. Maitre vacha sodikshpito bhagvata pralabdascha rushabhrisham ajaro vanam krodam kriya kridyama nohiradiva. Sri Maitreya said, the demon, being thus challenged by the personality of Godhead, became angry and agitated. And he trembled in anger like a challenged cobra. So in 8 verses, from 13 to 20, there is a description of the fight between Lord Vara and Hirnaksh. So the demon has been repeatedly insulted by the Lord and also ridiculed. So pralabdha. So he became like a great snake, which was being teased by the words that the Lord spoke in verses 11 and 12. So Prabhupada says that the cobra is very fierce, but before an enchanter who can play with him, he is a plaything. Similarly, the demon may be powerful in his own domain, but before the Lord, he is insignificant. He gives the example of Ravan, who was a fierce figure before the demigods. But when Lord Ram came, then he trembled and prayed to his deity Lord Shiva, but to no avail. Saraswatartha of this verse is, having fallen from his position as an associate of the Lord, Adhikshpita, he became overcome with great anger. Though Shuddha Sattva by nature, because of the curse of the Kumars arising from the will of the Lord, he became full of ignorance. At the time of fighting, he displayed great anger, though it was not real anger. Okay, let me pause here, see if you have any comments or discussion.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I think just to clarify myself that Prabhuji, during this pastime, Hiranyaksh does not remember at all his original position, right, Prabhuji? He is fully under Mahamaya control and acting like a, his feelings are kind of fully real, right, Prabhuji? Like he's.
It appears to be that his. So it's one of those things that when we read these interpretations given by the acharyas, that while he was insulting the Lord, he was also glorifying the Lord. So it appears that he remembered his position as a devotee of the Lord, but also because of his promise to engage the Lord in battle in the form of a demon, he was also playing that role. We see the same thing in Vritasur. So even though Vritasur was demoniac and he was killing the demigods left, right, and center, but his mood of as a devotee was never eclipsed. He was speaking actually much higher philosophy than Indra could comprehend. So so whether it is completely play acting or whether it's one of those things that is difficult to explain. But these personalities are Nitya Siddhas, so they are in a different realm.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we can end if there are no more questions. Vancha kalpatarubhayashchit kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Thai Gaur Premanand. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.